Hawaii's volcano just did something it hasn't done in 40 years. Not once, 48 times. And it's about to do it again. In days. This is Kilauea. And what's happening right now is being called the most explosive stretch in its recorded history. Here's the story nobody's telling you. Kilauea sits on the big island of Hawaii. It's one of the most active volcanoes on Earth. But this current eruption isn't normal, even for Kilauea. It started on December 23, 2024. Lava began fountaining from a crater called Halemaumau. Then it stopped. Then it started again. Then it stopped again, over and over, episode after episode. As of this month, that number has hit 50. 50 separate lava fountain episodes from the same volcano in under a year and a half. To put that in perspective, the last volcano to come close took 3.5 years to reach 47 episodes. Kilauea beat that record in about half the time. This is officially the most episodic eruption ever recorded at this volcano, ever, in documented history. So why does this keep happening? And why now? Stick around, because it gets stranger. And I promise, the next part explains everything. Here's how each episode actually works, because it isn't random. Magma builds up underground. Pressure rises. Scientists can literally watch the ground itself inflate, like a balloon slowly filling with air. Then it releases. Lava shoots straight up out of the crater, sometimes over 600 feet into the sky. That's taller than a 50-story building made entirely of molten rock. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stops. The ground deflates, and the whole cycle begins again. Scientists have a name for this: gas piston cycling. Pressure builds, releases, and resets, almost like clockwork. And this isn't guesswork. The US Geological Survey tracks this in real time using tilt meters buried in the ground that measure movement down to fractions of a degree. Right now, as this video is being made, Kilauea is paused, but inflation is already climbing again. Forecasters are predicting the next episode, episode 51, sometime in the coming days. This volcano isn't slowing down, it's on a schedule. But here's where the story gets genuinely unsettling. Just weeks before one of the recent episodes, a magnitude 6.0 earthquake hit Hawaii. The strongest the islands had felt since 2021. Now, scientists were clear about one thing. This earthquake wasn't caused by the volcano itself. It came from something bigger, the literal weight of the Hawaiian Islands, slowly bending the ocean floor beneath them. But days later, Kilauea broke its own eruption record. Coincidence? Maybe, but it's exactly the kind of timing that keeps volcanologists watching every single instrument, every single hour. If you're finding this as fascinating as I do, stay with me, because the next part is about what this is actually doing to the land itself. Every single episode is physically reshaping the volcano. The vents inside the crater have grown taller than 500 feet, built up layer by layer, eruption by eruption, like nature stacking bricks made of cooling lava. Volcanic glass, thin as hair, is drifting across nearby towns. Locals call it Pele's hair, named after the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes and fire. It's beautiful, and it's also sharp enough to irritate skin, eyes and lungs if it lands on you directly. Ash and volcanic rock, called tephra, keep falling on roads and trails near the park. Officials shut down viewing areas without warning whenever fountain spikes. And yet, this eruption has stayed remarkably contained. Every single episode has remained inside Halemaumau crater, inside the national park boundary. No lava has threatened nearby homes. No towns have been forced to evacuate. Which raises the real question everyone actually wants answered. Is this dangerous? Or is this just Hawaii being Hawaii? Here's the honest answer, straight from the people who track it every single day. The official alert level right now is advisory. Not warning, not emergency, advisory. That means Kilauea is active and closely watched, but not currently threatening life or property outside the closed zones. The aviation color code sits at yellow, meaning aircraft need to stay alert for ash, but there's no immediate air traffic danger. So this isn't the doomsday headline some channels want you to believe. But it's also not nothing. This is one of the most active, most closely monitored volcanic systems on the entire planet, actively rewriting its own eruption record in real time. And if you've made it this far, here's the part almost nobody talks about. The reason people fly to Hawaii specifically to watch this: Hawaii Volcanoes National Park stays open around the clock. When an episode hits and skies are dark, you can see the red glow from miles away. Visitors bring zoom lenses and binoculars, because the closest overlooks sometimes close instantly for safety the moment ash starts falling. Rangers at the entrance know the conditions better than any website ever will. If you're planning a trip, they're your first stop, not your last resort. And here's something most tourists never realize. That same volcanic ash that shuts down trails is also the reason Hawaii's soil is some of the richest on Earth. Every eruption breaks down into minerals that feed the forests growing back around the park within years, sometimes months. Destruction and renewal happening in the same square mile, over and over, for centuries. There's another detail worth knowing before we zoom out. Every episode also releases massive amounts of sulfur dioxide gas, sometimes thousands of tons in a single day. That gas mixes with moisture in the air to create what locals call VOG, volcanic smog. It can drift for miles, thick enough to haze entire towns, even when the eruption itself is nowhere in sight. Some residents check the VOG forecast the same way you'd check for rain. Now let's zoom out, because this is bigger than one crater in Hawaii. Kilauea sits on what's called a hotspot, a fixed column of extreme heat rising from deep inside the Earth, completely separate from where tectonic plates actually meet. The Pacific plate is slowly sliding over that hotspot, which is exactly why the entire Hawaiian island chain exists in the first place. Each island was built by this same process, one eruption at a time, over millions of years. The Big Island sits directly over the hotspot right now. That's why Kilauea is still this active, while older islands further up the chain have gone completely silent. In other words, Hawaii itself is a living timeline. And Kilauea is the page currently being written. So let's bring this together, because the pattern here is genuinely remarkable. 50 eruption episodes in under 18 months. A broken record for the most fountaining events ever documented at this volcano. A major earthquake just weeks before the most recent record breaker. And forecasters already predicting episode 51 within days. This isn't a volcano winding down. This is one of the most active systems on the planet, still accelerating, still being tracked minute by scientists who genuinely don't know exactly when it'll stop, if it does stop at all anytime soon. And here's the timeline detail that ties it all together. Hawaii itself has been forming this way for roughly 70 million years. Island after island, dragged off the hotspot as the Pacific plate crawls forward, just a few inches every year. The Big Island is the youngest of them all, which is exactly why it's still this violent, still this active, still being built in real time while you watch this video. Here's what actually matters if you take one thing from this video. Kilauea isn't erupting out of nowhere. It's following a rhythm. Pressure, release, pause, repeat. Scientists can see it coming days in advance now, using instruments buried in solid rock. That's not luck. That's decades of monitoring finally paying off in real time on one of the most unpredictable forces on Earth. And that's exactly why this channel exists. To take stories like this, the ones actual scientists are tracking right now, and explain them before the headlines catch up and get it wrong. If that's the kind of content you want more of, subscribe, because the next episode of this eruption could happen within days, and I'll be here the moment it does. Drop a comment if you'd actually fly out to see something like this in person, glow and all. I'll see you in the next one.